Many hands make light work. So our congregational song that we will open with will be In My Life in the White Book, that is the new book. So it's alphabetical under the I. And our music today will be provided by Dr. Jean Heinrich and the East-West String Band. Let's welcome them. Welcome to the First Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta. We are a philosophically based spiritual community dedicated to human liberation and to the preservation of the natural world. We acknowledge that we are standing on land that was once inhabited by the Muscogee Creek people who were forcibly made to leave this place in the 1800s. And we support justice for all indigenous people. We also are very aware that this building was built by the Antioch East Baptist congregation in the 1920s after their original building was burned down. We think by racist hostility. They built this out of stone, and which they brought from Stone Mountain. We continue to have a community relationship with Antioch East, and we are very pleased to be the stewards of this building.
Charlene, you can back off of the mic just a little bit.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're popping your peas.
So now I'll make pretty sounds. So I was going to say, if you have any community announcements, please feel free to come up and bring them and give them to me. I will announce them at a specified time in the service. And we do have a couple of very interesting community announcements already, so please bring any that you might have. So are there any newcomers today who would like to be recognized? Who'd like to just forgive me. Stand and tell us how you found out about us.
My name is Barry. I'm from the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm visiting Atlanta for the weekend and delighted to be here. And I found this place through my friend Mike, who drove me in here.
I'm Mike. I'm from the UU congregation in Columbia, South Carolina. And we're here for a sports weekend. We saw the Braves play yesterday. We're going to the Atlanta Dream game today because we're both huge South Carolina Gamecock fans, women's basketball, and there'll be 4 of them playing in today's game. But we're delighted to be here, and I was bowled over by the originality of your congregation's name. I love it.
Welcome very much. Welcome. And if anyone, oh, yes ma'am.
Oh, hi. No, I consider myself a friend now, but I'm supporting East West Streams, which my sister's a part of that group. And I'm also an artist at Children's Space. So.
And your name is?
Amy.
Excuse me?
Amy.
Amy, welcome Amy. And if you want to know more about existentialism, then you might take out the connection card that you'll find in your program and put it in the collection plate.
And introduce the band.
Oh yes, and Dr. Jean.
Nicole Miller. Jesse Owama Jonas. Nadeem Anderson.
We want to welcome the band Jesse and Nicole and Navi. Very good. I'm so glad to hear this lovely music, and I'm so glad to see them today. So, are there any more newcomers who would like to be acknowledged? Okay, then let's, are there any birthdays or anniversaries that anyone would like? Yes.
This week, Bob and I, we celebrated 16 years. 17 years, something like that.
Would you like to be sung to?
Sure.
Okay, come on.
Happy anniversary.
And happy anniversary to Sanjay
And Bob. Bob.
Baba.
Bob, B-B-H-A-W-N-A.
Baba.
Yeah.
Baba.
Yeah.
Sanjay.
Happy anniversary to Sanjay and Baba.
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 La 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 la. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Sunday Bob. Happy anniversary to you.
Wonderful. So now we have another congregational song, and this is going to be introduced by Dr. Jean.
This one is We Let the Love Wash Over Us. And remember, it has choreography. So it's we let, and then we gather up whatever it is we're letting wash over us. We let the love, gather it up, wash over us. We let it be. Yeah? We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We're going to play this one through too first. And then you will.
I invite you to stand as you're willing and able, body and spirit. to us, Reverend Marcia Mitchell. So, welcome, Marcia.
Wow, great. Yeah. Great to have everyone here this morning. Wonderful to have our visitors from out of town, our visitors from here. What an awesome sound. Thank you for that. You can come back anytime that you want. Because you're going to simply be everyone here this morning. It's a beautiful day, and I'm glad that you decided to make a choice and come and be with us. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, and I have my brother and all three of his sons and multiple grandchildren, both male and female, have served in the military. They've served in armed conflict, as well as otherwise. Several of them are still serving right now. And fortunately, every one of them have come home. And I appreciate that greatly, that we have not had to bear the tragedy of their not making it back home. But that's not true for a lot of families. And I hope that tomorrow that you will take some time and think about those that have served and have not come back home to their families. I know that most of us are, or many of us are certainly anti-war and we would much prefer to have peaceful resolution to conflicts. However, the reality is that a strong defense is an important part of being able to negotiate in a peaceful way. So please, think about those families that have lost someone. Think about those that have made that sacrifice. And just spend a moment, if you would, tomorrow, thinking about that and what that has meant, what that has been able to give you in your life. So thank you so much for coming today. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of this incredibly. I want you to know that I did request this and turned out great. So thank you all for being here, and carpe diem.
Thank you, Marcia. So now is the time to share the community announcements. And the first one I'm going to announce is next weekend is going to be the book and bake sale. And it's going to take place on Saturday, which will be from 9 o'clock in the morning till 2 in the evening, Saturday, June the 3rd, 2 in the afternoon, I mean. And before then, we are going to need on Thursday and Friday for people to bring books that you would like to donate. So, here's the flyer. This is the flyer that we use with a picture of Andy holding up all the books that are going to be donated. And Andy's own work. I love this flyer. So it's going to be on July the 3rd, early for us usually.
June.
I'm sorry, June. Yes, June. June the 3rd, that's even earlier. So please contact Marcia to volunteer. What?
Oh,
Yes,
the flyer that people can pick up.
the flyers are in the back. You may pick up flyers. Edie is holding up one at the moment. So you may pick up flyers. And so we are going to ask for volunteers. First of all, for people to bring books and for bring books on Thursday between the hours of 1 and 5, and on Friday between 1 and 5. We'll need people to set up tables and help put the books on them and get all ready. Then on Saturday is going to be the book and bake sale itself. We invite you to bring baked goods for sale, which I will bring, and some of the others, some of others will, so that we can have, and we can eat inside the sanctuary now. And then we're going to ask for people to stay after 2 on Saturday and help move everything to the side in preparation for the celebration of life on Sunday. And on Sunday, you'll also be able to buy some books, those that are left over, and there will be some, and to help set up. Then on either Sunday afternoon, maybe Monday, but it's usually Sunday afternoon, people will come and take away the extra books. Yes, maybe.
Can we donate things other than books?
Can we do what?
Donate things other than books?
Yes. You can donate books, CDs, LPs if you have any, DVDs, all of
Puzzles?
maybe media puzzles, yes. We're not asking for magazines, but still, we're thinking about puzzles, books, and also the media. So any questions or? Okay, we hope to see you. And the other is contact Marsha, our fellowship minister, to volunteer for Saturday, sorting, setting up, and all. All hands are needed. Okay, book and bake sale. Another announcement is a comeback musical will take place on Saturday, June the 4th, featuring Antioch East Baptist Church. It's called Going Back Home Where the Bricks Were Laid. 2 Corinthians 5:1. And it's going to be a homecoming of music and celebration for the Antioch East Baptist Church. Excuse me, presented by the Biracial History Project. That's June 24th. I'm sorry. It's going to be on Saturday, June 24th at 3 p.m. And if you need to know more, see Edie in the back. There she stands. Okay. So now we will have a few moments of silence. If you would like to sit quietly with your friends and fellow members and friends and just meditate or cogitate, I think, for about 5 minutes, and when the time of silence is over, I'll ring the bell. Welcome back. And now we have a congregational song, which will be introduced by Dr. Jean Heinrich.
When I was working with our active duty troops in theater, rear detachment, they would come in to see me because they were losing it psychologically. And one of the things I would invite them to do, I'm going to invite you to do right now. And it is taking a couple of deep breaths, wiggle around in your chair so that you are more and more comfortable. Breathe deeply. Maybe close your eyes, maybe not. And let it come into your mind's eye. The image of a beautiful place. Breathing deeply as you notice detail about this beautiful place.
And now we have a time of sharing joys, sorrows, and milestones. So,
Thank you, Sharon. Well, it's always good to see you walking in the neighborhood. In fact, Wade and I really enjoyed walking our dogs, and we still do the walks, even though they are no longer with us. They're with us in spirit. And we do the walks, and so it gets us out of the house. Yeah, it gives us some exercise too, but it helps us connect to the people in the neighborhood. And that's what I love about this area, is that, people are very friendly, and that's why I moved here originally. And so it's great to see people and their dogs and visit while we're walking around. Thank you for inviting me to speak. So I'm not doing much public speaking these days, so it's a challenge for me, but I will survive. If I put too much emphasis on my P's, you just tell me. A microphone. You may recall that when I was with you last January, my sermon title was, I Need You. I Need You. It was all about our need for one another to be and become the person we are. To know and admit none of us can go it alone. That we're all in this together, which may serve as a comfort and a challenge after our period of isolation and even quarantine during the pandemic. It may also serve as a reminder in our upcoming elections that despite political and regional, ideological and religious differences, divisiveness may be overcome by remembering that. As one of my t-shirts echoes our U.S. Constitution, we the people means everyone. We the people means everyone. Today's talk could be viewed as an extension of the spiritual reality of needing one another, because to be together requires holding still long enough to be present, taking adequate time with one another to get to know one another and allow ourselves to be shaped and taught, even corrected and inspired by one another to be and become our best possible selves. Think of a machine created to rub stones together long enough to smooth out their rough edges and polish stones into gems. In our case, to smooth our souls into the beautiful and compassionate, welcoming and cooperative creations they can be. That requires holding still or staying in place long enough to give time for that to happen. My brief description of my talk for your newsletter offers 3 examples of holding still. Anyone who's changed a diaper, or towel dried a wet dog, or received a vaccination knows how important holding still can be. This is true in the spiritual life as well, I wrote. And that's what I want to talk with you about. Hold still, our mothers might have urged us as babies when changing our diapers. Hold still, the dog owners among us might command our pets while we get them dry enough to run off and play. Hold still, a doctor or nurse might remind us as they gave us a shot during the recent pandemic. Whether we're getting clean, getting dry, or getting vaccinated, immunized, our holding still is the way we cooperate with what needs to be done for the betterment of ourselves and of our community. I believe this is true of the spiritual life as well. We all know about taking time to meditate, to breathe deeply, to practice mindfulness, to stretch ourselves spiritually, or as in yoga and physical therapy, stretching ourselves physically. Our spiritual imaginations need to be stretched beyond our personal experience. As we offer prayers, read devotional and inspirational or even scientific material, consult sacred texts, gather for religious practices, offer compassion and care, donate and volunteer. These are examples of spiritual practices we've all done at one time or another. Spiritual communities have been organized around all these practices. Most of us know that some spiritual communities also value poverty, obedience, and celibacy as spiritual disciplines. Just between you and me, I always thought obedience would be the most difficult to follow. But it helps us know that obedience comes from a word simply meaning to listen. To listen or pay attention. And most of us are pretty good at that. And though celibacy is embraced as a spiritual practice by some, it's really about focus. Choosing to focus one's attention and energies more broadly on a community or congregation. Chastity, as it is sometimes referred to, simply means purity of purpose. Purity of purpose. And as such, chastity may even be practiced in marriage or in having a family. But in addition to all these spiritual practices, holding still means stability. Keeping faith with a congregation or community to enable growth to happen. Our own growth and for the growth and development of others. Many and possibly most of you have kept faith with First Existentialist of Atlanta, and more broadly, the Fellowship of Unitarian Universalists. For many years, practicing the spiritual discipline of stability, holding still, allowing yourself to be shaped and inspired by one another as you experience life and spirituality together. I may have told you the story of a young Buddhist monk who went from monastery to monastery trying to find the right fit. 6 months at one, 3 months at another, and then pick up his bags and move on to the next. 2 older Buddhist practitioners observed this inability to sit still, as it were. One said to the other, yes, his bag got dipped in manure long ago, and he used a stronger term, of course. His bag got dipped in manure long ago, so to speak, and now in each new place he smells the manure and moves on, not realizing he's carrying the stench from monastery to monastery. I confess to you that having retired and out of practice writing sermons and talks, but I'm grateful to you that you still invite me back from time to time to stretch my verbal and spiritual muscles. But it is on this occasion, ironically speaking on holding still, that I tossed and turned in my sleep trying to find the right images to say. I've been rereading my blog, and this past Friday I found a post that fits this topic. And I ask you to indulge me, as you did some time ago when I spoke on silence and Zen on Easter Sunday in 2022 in a talk entitled "A Flower Does Not Talk," by using this other post as well. The title of the blog I posted on October 26, 2011, the year I began the blog, was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The Christian teacher Abelard of the 12th century explained atonement, literally at one-ment, this way. Witnessing Jesus suffering on the cross awakens in us that which makes us one with God, our compassion. Compassion is our link to divinity. To witness suffering, whether firsthand or through the media, may draw out our divine urge to hold and help the vulnerable. Now let me insert this. This was not part of the original post. It's something I just read on Saturday. But I read a quote of a Persian Sufi from the Middle Ages in a New York Times article about the Turkish novelist Burhan Sönmez in the context of freedom of speech. And this is the quote from the 15th century Persian Sufi. Hell is not the place where we suffer. It's the place where no one hears us suffering. Hell is not the place where we suffer. It's the place where no one hears us suffering. Then to return to my original post, Zen teacher Jack Kornfield tells the story of a man in Southeast Asia whose work was enforcing drug laws through arrests, imprisonment, even violence. A relative, a wise old Buddhist nun, told him there was a better way. Under her influence, he became a Buddhist monk who became known for his austere practices. He founded a drug treatment center that has one of the highest rates of success in the region. His principal therapy to bring people back from this abyss is holding them like babies. Holding them like babies. Telling them how much they are loved. They cry, they sweat, they scream, they listen, they feel, and the healing begins one day at a time. Returning to the post on my blog. A few years ago, actually that was on that post as well. A few years ago, I watched for the first time the Kenneth Branagh film Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Have any of you seen it? Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the Kenneth Branagh version? It's powerful. I would advise getting it. It prompted me to read Mary Shelley's 1818 novel, in discovering that the film reflects many of its insights. The creature, who has been given his creator's name in the public mind, is not the monosyllabic grunter of gay director James Whale's 1931 film classic, whose own story is the content of another worthy film, Gods and Monsters. But an eloquent philosopher who, on being a creature abandoned by his creator and rejected by fellow creatures, asking for a mate as hideous as himself, the creature explains to his creator, Victor Frankenstein, If any being felt emotions of benevolence toward me, I should return them 100 and 100-fold. For that one creature's sake, I would make peace with the whole kind. His creator writes, his words had a strange effect upon me. I compassionated him, and sometimes felt a wish to console him. But when I looked upon him, when I saw the filthy mass that moved and talked, my head sickened, my heart sickened, and my feelings were altered to those of horror and hatred. Brannock's movie version of the creature's words captures the sinister consequences of being denied. I have love in me the likes of which you can scarcely imagine, and rage the likes of which you would not believe. If I cannot satisfy the one, I will indulge the other. And only then concludes, for the sympathy of one human being, I would make peace with all. I attended an ordination in San Francisco which featured two pastors giving the charge to one who would be serving as a chaplain and director of a clinical pastoral education CPE program at a local hospital. The Presbyterian pastor gave an eloquent but long commendation, whose content I do not remember. The MCC pastor gave a memorable two-point counsel. The people you'll be serving, she said simply, basically want to know, am I alone and am I loved? Am I alone and am I loved? For the sympathy of one human being, I will make peace with all. We are all creatures. We each have love in us, the likes of which can scarcely be imagined, and rage, the likes of which can hardly be believed. If we cannot satisfy the one, we may indulge the other. We need companions. We are all in need of being held. Maybe we should establish bars or coffee houses where we could meet someone simply to hold us for a while or for the night. The only holding that many experience all week are the hugs before and after worship, and when passing the peace. Knowing that might slow us down when administering that sacrament. Living in community, as you have here for many years, is a valuable spiritual practice. It is transformative, not only of ourselves, but of the world. May you continue to be blessed and be a blessing to others. This is what the world needs now.
Thank you so much, Chris. You are a blessing to us, and we hope that we can be the blessing to the world that you say that we are. We aspire to that. Thank you. So now we will have our closing congregational song, and that will conclude the service. So our final song is going to be I'll Fly Away, and Dr. Gina will introduce it.
Gene, can I say something real quick? This is kind of coincidental, but we sang this yesterday because it was going to read his favorite songs. So I would like to dedicate this to Rita and, you know, all of our loved ones that have gone away. It really indulged me.
So Andy, this is what the tambourines are for. It's on his handout, y'all.
So I invite you to stand in the spirit or in body, as you will.
When this life is over, I'll fly away to the